But I did have a couple questions from a couple former players that got on my feed, and they say, was your championship team the best team that you had at Camden?
Oh, absolutely not. I think the best.
What's up with it? Welcome to Gappy Talk TV. We got one of the most legendary coaches in the state of Arkansas with us today, Coach Buck James. 5 consecutive state championships at Bryan, Arkansas. 3 state championship appearances at Camden Fairview with another ring on top of that. We're going to talk about why he left Camden, how it's going at Bryan, and everything in between.
All right, man. Welcome to another episode of Gappy Talk TV. We're here with legendary coach Buck James, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Appreciate you having me on your show.
Man, it's good to see you. Like, people don't know, what you mean to me. We're gonna start at the backstory, how you got into coaching Camden Fairview, now Bryan, So I did my research. I saw you was an offensive lineman at UAM.
Yeah, I played in 1983 to 87 at UAM, and I was an offensive lineman. I'm from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, so I stayed close to home. I got my first job in Monticello, where I coached under Johnny McMurray, and coached at Monticello High School for 12 years. And then I went to Star City High School, which was my first high school coaching job, and I coached there for 5 years. And then went to Camden Fairview and stayed 9 years, and then off to Little Rock Christian, where I stayed a couple of years, and then I've been here at Bryant the last 7 years.
So let's talk about. I know you. So basically, you probably built your foundation in Monticello. Like, how was that? Like taking leadership. Just seeing how things work and what was your head coach name?
Johnny McMurray.
What big of an impact did he have on your life?
I think he had a huge impact. I think he was probably way before his time. He was a guy that did it the right way. He's the guy that taught me how to use the weight room and how to make it part of what you're trying to do on your daily basis, and really taught us a foundation of football and how to be good on offense, defense, and special teams. And it was a great learning experience. The guy was a wealth of information, and he taught me a lot of things that are still relevant today in what we try to do and what we try to accomplish. And I've learned from a lot of people. I've learned from our kids. I've learned from other coaches. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to find new things that work. There's a reason why dinosaurs died. It's because they couldn't evolve.
Right.
And I think if you look at coaching, if you look at the eras that I've coached in from the late to mid 80s to the late to early 2020s, that's a lot of span of football. And football's come a long ways. Back when I first started, it was run the football and you played a run defense, and that was it. If you throw a pass in the air, somebody throwing the ball in and out the field. But it's evolved, and that's what I'm proud of the most, is I've been able to stay with it and stay relevant really over a 35-year career.
When you speak of dinosaur, like, I can attest to this because being from Camden Fairview, we ran the ball every 90% of the time. And when you came, it was ahead of its time. But I don't know if you know this or not. It's a backstory. This was your first year at Camden Fairview. It was going into my junior year. I didn't play football. I was just walking through the field house. I don't know if you remember this or not. And you stopped me. And you was like, "Why don't you play football?" And I was like, "We run the ball every play. Like, it's no room for me out there." You say you should come out. Like, you look tall, you look athletic. Just come out. It's the first day of school. And that changed my life because I had no intentions on playing football. I didn't know how to be a receiver, but I knew how to catch. So with you, Coach Furneaux, and other coaches, it really set the basis for my life. And then after that, I just hit the ground running. So, but you were ahead of your time because nobody really throwing the ball around like that, So bringing it, and then also the weight room. We was probably the only school that lifted weights during the season. Like, you had built a weightlifting program, like, you know what I'm saying? The type of attire that we wear, like the helmets was ahead of its time. The girdles, like detail, like where did that detail come from? Like, to just think ahead like that.
Well, I remember back when I was a player, some of it, because I'm not any different than you were as a kid or anybody else that's watching this as a kid. I like nice stuff. I wanted to be coached. I wanted to learn. I wanted to feel important. And those are things that you build foundations on. I mean, it's all about relationships. It's about getting kids to believe in what you're doing. It's about getting the parents to believe in what you're doing, the administration to believe in what you're doing. And it gives you an opportunity to have success when you have the best players playing. No coach is going to be very good if there's not great players playing. And when I went to Camden Fairview, they were in the wishbone and they were running the football and they were winning 7 or 8 games a year, and they were a good football program and had a great coach. And but what I wanted to do is I wanted to make the field 50 yards wide and 50 yards deep. And it took a little bit for us to get good at it. But once we got good at it, we had sort of the same run that we're having here,
Right.
except we couldn't win the state championship games. And we did win one of them, but we were going to deep in the playoffs. We were playing in the state championship games, and we evolved. And, it was really a building platform for me. I learned things that I didn't do well. I learned things that I did well that I need to do better. And, it sort of helped me to be ready for this situation. And, that's what life's about. We stumble, we fall, we get back up, we dust ourselves off, we go back and we do it again, and we try to get faster and better at it. And then we fall down again, or we have setbacks, and then we do around and do that. And I think that's what life is about. It's about how you handle success and how you handle your failures, and don't allow it to be able to define you. Failures are just learning curves, and we all have them. We all have things that we're not proud of, or things we didn't do well, or things that we thought we could do better. And that's what we do when we look back on our successes, that we learn from our mistakes. And I think that's what coaching is. I think that's what life is. And I think that's what kids want to be able to do, is they want to be able to go out there and succeed. They want to fail. They don't like the failure part of it, but they understand that they're better because of their failures, because that's learning moments, and that's opportunities for them to get better. And I think that's what we try to do with our kids.
So speaking of mistakes and failures, is there anything that you regret from Camden Fairview? Anything you would have done different, or you think it all panned out just how it should have did?
Well, I wish that we could have, been a little better at what we did. When we got beat by teams that were better than us, is because that's what they were. They were better at what they do. And, I think we had to be a little bit more detailed. We had to go past our comfort zone. We had to be able to throw the ball when we needed to throw it, and we had to be able to have kids that could play different coverages and do some things on the defense side of the football that would confuse people. We couldn't just be athletic. And I think that's what I learned. Being a great athlete is good, but you're going to always play somebody who's better at it than you. And it's like being a mechanic and not having the right tools.
Right.
You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can have all the things that it takes to be successful, but having the right tool gives you a chance to do it better. And I think that's what I've learned as much as anything. I think when I did hit a stumbling block, or when we did not do what I thought we were capable of doing, I went back and I found ways to try to do it better. And I went back and tried to redefine what we were doing, and not just, in the mindset of I'm going to cut my nose off to spite my face,
right,
because I'm going to do this, or trying to put a square peg in a round hole type mentality.
Right.
And that's sort of the things that I learned, and it's paid off for these kids. It's paid off for this program. But I couldn't have been here if it hadn't been for the programs. I love my time at Camden Fairview. I love the kids there. Were unbelievable. The parents and stuff were out of this world. And, I say, I wouldn't be the coach I am today if I hadn't coached at Camden Fairview.
You definitely a legend at Camden Fairview. Like, as soon as I posted, like, I'm sitting down with Coach James, like everybody excited about Coach James. But I did have a couple questions from a couple former players that got on my feed, and they say, was your championship team the best team that you had at Camden?
Oh, absolutely not. I think the best football team we had was when we had DeAnthony Curtis and Levant Saskew and Brian Christopher and Jim Youngblood. I think that was our best football team athletically, for sure. We had some guys that, we got to. It came down to a kicker, really. I mean, we scored more touchdowns than the team that beat us. We had more yards rushing than the team that beat us. They just made some plays, and it came down to a field goal. And
right.
You can make excuses, or you can do whatever, what you can say whatever you want to say. We just weren't ready when we got there, and when we won it, the year we won it in 2012, those kids were ready. They were ready to take the next step, and they saw the blueprint. They saw the things that we didn't do well. and it really it readied for me for this. And
Mm-hmm.
the same thing happened at Monticello. We got there close a couple times, but we didn't win it. And then when we did get there and win it, we won it because we had evolved into what we needed to do to be successful. But the thing I can say about the Camden Fairview kids is they let us coach. It was the parents let us coach, and that's the same thing that's happening here at Bryant. They let us coach their kids. The kids want us to coach them. It's sort of the same mindset, sort of the main mentality, sort of the same philosophies. There's a lot of same things that we were doing at Camden Fairview we're doing right here.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way at Monticello and the same way at Star City. We just have all the ducks in a row here
Right.
a lot better than what we did there. And, it takes parents, it takes great administration, it takes great kids, it takes, the ball bouncing your way. It takes a lot of things for you to win a championship. It doesn't take much to derail a team that's capable of winning a
Right.
championship game just on a play call, a fumble, a missed or made opportunity can change a game in that level of football.
Another question I had was a guy asked, "What's your definition of success? Not only just football, just in life. Like, what do you consider being successful?"
Well, being successful, I remember saying this all the time. It's not about how many gold chains you have around your neck, or it's not how much money you have in your pocket, or what kind of car you drive, or what kind of house you live in. I think it's how you treat people and how people treat you, and having respect and trying to live your life the best version of yourself that you can. And I think that's something that is important. At the end of all this time, we're going to have to meet our maker, and we're going to have to decide what we did was good or honest or whatever. And I think, we try to be the best version of ourselves every single day. We try to do the best that we can every day. We say be the best still. We say 212. We do those things, and we do them and because we want to better ourselves. We want our children to have better lives than what we had. And I think that's what every parent wants. They want their kids to be successful. They want their kids to have a good life. They want them to have good fortune. And it's not necessarily how much money you make, but it's an impact that you make. It's the difference that you can make in somebody's life. And I think at the end of the day, I want my kids that I've coached to say, hey, the guy gave me an honest shot. He was fair to me as he was to the next guy. He treated me the same.
Everybody the same on the same. You treated everybody the same regardless of you the All-American or you the last guy. You talk to everybody the same, no favoritism. That's what, I think a lot of guys respect you the most because you treated everybody the same. As far as Bryant, I know this, you said 7. I didn't know it'd been that long, you know what I'm saying? So is there any difference from to the stepping stone what you have here compared to what you had at your other school?
Well, it's a little different. We have more resources, obviously, but really about the same amount of kids that we had at Camden. We've been more athletic. We were more athletic at Camden than we have been here, but we have more of the pieces, and really the technology is so much better, with the huddle and everything, and how to learn football. The staff is a little bigger. Most of our coaches are football coaches only. They're not, coaching other sports
and teaching and
teaching and doing all that stuff. And so, we're able to do more with football than we have in some of the smaller schools I've been at. But, at the end of the day, there's Troy Sharps on this football team. There's Levance Askew's on this team. There's DeAnthony Curtis on this football team. There's Jim Youngbloods on this football team. Yeah, I can sit here as Leotis Porsche.
So all different calibers.
It's a melting pot of kids. We have the same kids here that we had at Camden or we had at Star City or we had at Monticello. All those communities are very similar. And, at the end of the day, kids want to be as good as they can possibly be. They want to work as hard as they can possibly work, and they want to do as good as they can possibly do. And, what I found out is it's not the kids that's changed, it's the adults. It's administrations that change so much with kids nowadays today. And, our society is not as tough as it was at one time. And, the last frontier of tough kids are guys who play football.
Yeah.
It's a collision sport. It's a gladiator type sport that's played in front of a lot of people. You wear all this equipment, you go out there and you have to be physical, tough. You have to be good at what you do. You have to be disciplined. And, to me, it's the last frontier. That's why it's under attack all the time because there are people that are going to get injured. There are people that are going to get hurt. There are people that are going to get their feelings hurt. There are people that are going to have successes. It's just a great game. It's a melting pot. I tell our kids all the time this, Troy. what else in our society looks like our football team? It ain't church. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not, the interstate is the only thing I know. I mean, it ain't basketball. It ain't baseball. Football is a melting pot of people. You got big, fat, strong kids. You got big, fat, weak kids. You got small, fast kids. You got tall, fast kids. You got athletic kids. You got non-athletic kids. You got rich kids. You got poor kids.
Yeah.
You got everything that goes into man on a football team. And that's what makes it such a great game, is that everybody has the same opportunity. You have to go out there, strap your helmet on, your shoulder pads on, your shoes on, and go out there and play at a high level. Some people have to wait longer than others, but everybody can make a difference on a football team. And in the way you practice, the way you play on special teams, whether you're on offense or defense, you have a difference. You're a difference maker if you're on the football team.
Right. I got a couple more questions. So I know you've been following the Deion Sanders situation, but you know when he came into the Colorado locker room and laid his foot down, like, this is what we doing, this is what we not gonna have. A lot of people took it as like, what is he doing? Da, da, da. But if people would have been in the locker room when you came into Camden Fairview and ran so many kids off that didn't want to be there, you put your foot down, you said we're gonna do it this way, or just hit the highway, regardless of how talented you were, how many yards you had before I came, who your dad was, how many touchdowns you had. We're gonna do it this way. And I think that first year, I think we went 4-6. And I, to be honest, from top to bottom, I think for his size, athleticism, from that senior class to Brandon Hubbard, all the way down to D'Anthony Curtis in our class with Eric Blanche, Gary Green, Gary Smith, I think that was the best as far as athletic-wise class that you had, period. But you had to set the standards for this is how this program gonna be ran. And then next year, it was on with the races. Talk about coming into that atmosphere and setting your foot down like that. And running a lot of guys off.
It happened here too.
Oh, it did?
Same thing happened here. Same thing happened at Star City. I mean, when you change a culture, then it changes the mindset of a lot of people. And, I have a vision. He has a vision. I think Deion's doing a great job. I like what he says. I follow him on Twitter, and there's a lot of things. There's things I don't like. But I tell you what he's doing. He's trying to do it the right way, and he's trying to make young men out of the boys and guys in that locker room. He's trying to develop them as people and as a football team. He's trying to develop some cohesiveness in what they're trying to do. And he's trying to develop winners. And the guy's going to win. He knows how to win.
Yeah.
And there's a difference in winners and guys who want to win than guys who know they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a mindset. It's a mentality. It's a philosophy. It's a way of life. It's a process. Being just good is not something that just happens. If that was the case, everybody in the whole school could play football.
Right.
Everybody in the stands could play football. And it's not for everybody. And it has to be a different mindset. And it has to be one guy in charge, just like I tell guys all the time. It's an individual sport with a team concept. You have to individually go out there and be the best you can be every single day, but it can't be about you. It's got to be about the team. And our team overrides any individual.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to do what the team does, then it hurts the team. And so we got to get a lot of guys with a lot of high profiles. A lot of some kids need more attention than others, but it takes all kinds of kids, like I said earlier, and you have to get them to mesh into it. But great athletes make football teams better. Great athletes that are selfish don't make football teams better, and it's the same thing in any sport. You have to be able to be cohesive with the team. You have to have a bond with the team. You have to have brothers out there playing for each other. I didn't have a brother growing up, but everybody I knew had brothers. They would fight each other like it was no tomorrow. But you couldn't fight one of them if you was from outside looking in, because brothers are brothers, and that's what football is about. It's a brotherhood, and it's the largest fraternity in the nation. Being a football player, and every Friday night, every Saturday night, every Sunday afternoon, stadiums are filled up across the country with watching people play football. It's like a cult. And, people who never played the game are as excited to watch it as people, girls are just regular fans. And it's a special sport. I mean, nothing else can fill up TVs or fill up stadiums like football does. And I think it's a great sport. It's last of the frontier to develop young men. There's a lot of other sports that are not near as hard and demanding to play as football. The weather conditions change from being really hot to really cold. with rain involved in it or snow involved in it. And those are things that you can't discriminate against, because the elements are always going to be different. And, it's always hotter on one side of the field than it is others. It's always wetter on the other side of the field than it is others. And you have to teach a mentality that a guy can go out there and roll his sleeves up, do it every single day, do it every single week, and do it for 15 straight weeks to be able to be the best football player, best football team they can possibly be.
So I want to end it with when you hear the name Coach James, Coach Buck James, when it's all said and done, what do you want people to remember the most about you?
Well, I want them to say that was fair. I ain't gonna say I've always been right, because I've never always been right. And, I've tried to give every kid every single piece that I could of myself. And, I've been hard on kids. I've coached them hard, but in the same sense, I want them to know that I loved them and that I did it, because I did love them. And that's what I'm here today, because of coaches. It's coaches who molded me. And, I didn't have a dad at home growing up. It was my coaches who taught me how to be a man. And, hopefully I've given some of that back. Hopefully that, that when they're 25 to 30 years old, they'll look back and they'll say, I'm glad I played for that guy, and, that he did it the right way, and that it's something that they feel good about. I'm not wanting to say it's going to be easy or I was their best friend by any means, but I was a guy that was consistent, did my job every day, did it the best I could, and I cared about the kids.
All right, that's amazing. And it's one thing I know we had, through my experiences with football, you helped me get into school, you helped me get to college, and I left college, and you were so mad at me. You're like, Troy, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do with your life? Like, you just going to go back to Lincoln Center and do nothing? And that always stuck in my head for years. So everything that I do my best, and I go hard at it, because I remember your voice saying, what other choice do you have? Like, you know what I'm saying? This is laid out for you, so you need to take advantage of that. But through our life, through our marriage, through our relationships, throughout, jobs, working different, even through this, your voice resonated in my head as, don't give up. Like, don't give up. Like, you have nothing. What you going to have to fall back on? So I really appreciate that word. And I appreciate you taking the time, because you could have chose any kid, you know what I'm saying? But you took the time out. You wanted to see better out of me. You ain't Coach Coach Jet. So I really appreciate that. And I thank you for sitting down with me.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. We do the best we can, and we know, because we've been through life. I've been an 18-year-old to 25-year-old, and there's a lot of ways to success for those young people. And being in a structure, being disciplined, doing what you're supposed to do, being around the people you're supposed to be around, gives you a better chance to be successful. And it's the same thing that you went through. It's the same things I went through. It was a coach that said, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do? What are your plans? What are you going to go to college? And the same guy said the same things to me. And it was me walking, I ended up walking on in college, and I was good enough to play, but I didn't have the structure to play. And then I developed that through college, and I developed my work habits, and I developed, I had a long ways to go, but I had coaches who pushed me into life, and I needed that because I didn't have dad at home to do that. But those are formative years, really from 13 to 27 are formative years for young men. And a lot of good habits can be made and a lot of bad habits can be made. And, usually it's your friends that do the most damage to you. It's not your enemies, because you don't let them close enough to be around you to do that. And so you have to be able to make great decisions and give yourself a chance to be successful. And the rest of it's rolling up your sleeves, being a hard worker and doing what you're supposed to do and doing it the right way. And then trying to get along with people and develop relationships. And I think that's what, you're able to do. That's what you're doing now in your career, is you're developing relationships and you're selling a brand. And, there's a lot of ways to define success. All I want our kids to do is be successful. And it doesn't mean that you have to have a $1 million a year job or drive a fancy car or live in a big house or have a beautiful wife. You have to be able to have relationships and be able to understand the whole big meaning of all this, and then carry it into your everyday walk.
Right. Well, Coach James, I know you're a busy man. I appreciate you sitting down with me on my platform. I want to say thank you.
Thank you, brother.